Okay, hello everyone. We're going to try this again. My name is Stacey Adelman, and I'm a registered psychologist and founder of Joshua Tree Learning Center here in Regina, Saskatchewan. And today I'd like to introduce you to one of the newest members of the Joshua Tree team, Laura Anaka. Who is now recently married, is now Laura Tendler. So congratulations on your marriage over the weekend to you
Thank
and
you.
your husband. But Laura is an Indigenous social worker. She works as a school support specialist actually at O'Neill High School. So she does a lot of work with teenagers and providing support for teenagers. And here at Joshua Tree, Laura will continue to support teens as well as adults. So Laura works with individuals with a variety of different needs, but an area of passion or particular interest for Laura is working in the area of substance use and substance abuse for teens as well as adults. Laura is in long-term recovery herself, has a wealth of knowledge in this field of work, and is just absolutely incredible working with many different people, and has supported hundreds of people. Particularly in the areas of substance abuse. So I'm just thrilled to have her as part of our team. I'm excited to introduce her to you, and we're going to have a really great discussion today. So thank you for being with us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
So when Laura and I were talking, there's just so many things we want to talk about, right? There's just so much we can talk about. And we decided today what we're going to do is dial it in and really focus on the role of dopamine and its role in substance use and substance abuse. And so, Laura, what is dopamine? Can you tell
Okay.
us?
Yes. So I actually just want to do something quick with you, Stacey, and I'm just going to ask you a question. What
Okay.
is your most favorite food in the world?
Popcorn.
Popcorn, okay. What do you like about it?
I love the taste of butter and salt. Like I love lots of butter and salt.
Okay, so just talking about your favorite snack, like you probably got a little drool in your mouth and now you're craving it. Sorry about that. But just thinking about that, that is that feel good brain chemical dopamine, right? So that's just like a natural reaction, right? And now we're gonna need popcorn later this afternoon, so we can get the full effect of that. But pretty much, yeah, dopamine is just our feel good brain chemical because as people we want to feel good,
Okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
we want to feel good about everything. So that's pretty much yeah, what dopamine is in a nutshell.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what it does? So it's a feel-good hormone. Does it have any other role, or what does it do?
Yeah, so like when we have a good I guess just like a good flow of our brain chemicals like dopamine going, we're able to process our emotions, okay?
Okay.
I like to talk about reacting versus responding. So when we have a nice chemical balance, we're able to respond to things a lot better. We're able to self-regulate a lot better. We're able to just like enjoy the moment and be more in the present moment when we have yeah, just that dopamine flow. We're able to problem solve better. We're able to make choices better. We're just able to do day-to-day things
Mhm.
kind of out of flow, which
Right.
is like, yeah, it has a huge role. And also too, like when we have a nice flow of dopamine, we're not like, because we can create it within ourselves, so we don't need it, like we don't need to look outside ourselves for it. So yeah, it's just like it's just what makes us feel good.
Okay, so what happens if somebody's dopamine is too low? What might they experience, or what might they feel like?
Oh, well, everything opposite of what I said. We're not able to problem solve. We're not able to make decisions. Maybe we're making some impulsive decisions. Maybe we're like moody. like we can see that kind of like depression a bit. We can see increase in anxiety, and just like, well, grouchy, right? When I'm not doing the things I need to do to get my dopamine going in natural ways, I'm kind of off, right? So I might not be as patient or understanding as I would like to be. I might not be able to be so present in the moment because I'm like thinking and worried about other stuff. So that's just a few like ways to give people an idea how it looks when we don't have that flow of dopamine going in balance.
Okay, so when we're looking at substance abuse disorders, for example, what is the role of dopamine, even just with substance abuse and even as it progresses into a substance use disorder?
Yeah, okay. So like loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I guess, and I like to speak because I am a person in recovery, so I like to use a lot of I language and speak
Okay.
and use my own personal experiences, okay? So when I was using it, it was because I didn't feel good about myself, right? I had a background of trauma. I was very anxious. And so I was looking for something to feel better. So
Mm-hmm.
substances, and I always say the name of the drug, I'm going to quote Ranty, but the name of the drug does not matter. It doesn't matter
Right.
if it's THC, if it's alcohol, cocaine, nicotine. It does not matter the name of the drug. So when we talk about substances, we're looking for something to make us feel better. And what substances do, our brain, it plays a trick. So it's like, hey, I need this dopamine. I need something to feel good. And then I have like a hit of a dab pen or a drink of alcohol. Well, instantly I'm getting like this fake dopamine. And except it goes way higher than what we were talking about with popcorn. So it triples the effect. So now it's like, hey, popcorn made us feel good. The sunshine made us feel good. But all of a sudden, this substance is like up here, giving us that rush of dopamine. Okay. So then the next time we're maybe feeling a bit low and we're like, and our brain's like, well, the last time you were feeling like this, instead of the popcorn, you went and hit the substance. And so now your brain's like, go do that again. Except we're not hitting up here, we're maybe hitting about here. So we're not getting the same rush of dopamine. We're getting some, but it's not doing the same thing for us, but we're hoping it does. We're
Got it.
like, the brain really wants it to get that big increase of dopamine, but we're just not getting it. And then we crash. So our dopamine is less, but the crash is more. And then that's how we become physically dependent on it, because in our body, and that's a whole different discussion, but then our bodies become so dependent on this substance, and it doesn't even, like, dopamine's just not a part of the picture anymore because it's not doing for us what we expected it to do, except it's
Can
doing
you
everything opposite.
Got it. So can you explain a little bit about why the difference from the first time where the dopamine rush would be so high and then again not so high the next time?
Well, because our brains change, especially when you're looking at the ages from like 14 to 25. Like, our brains don't stop, like they're developed like at 25. So in between those ages, like our brains are changing and learning things, and we're creating habits, and things are firing and wiring together in there and stuff. So as soon as we use a substance, we're disrupting that. We're changing our brains. We're changing our bodies. We have all these different receptors. So the more we use, the more we're getting plugged up, the more that our brains are getting impacted. So it's just not hitting things
Uh-huh.
the same way because everything's changing in our brains, and then our receptors within our bodies are getting all plugged up. So things just aren't working the way we want them to. But it's so hard to dismiss that feeling of that first time use. Like I will never forget how I felt the first time. It was like an unbelievable feeling, but knowing what I know now, I'm like, well, no wonder the first time I used and the very last time I used were completely different, because I had a clean brain the first time I used, and I was all plugged up by my last use, and that was over years.
Okay, that really resonates. Just that term you use, plugged up, right?
Yeah.
It changes the brain and is, how does tolerance play into that a little bit?
Being plugged up.
That's the same idea.
Yeah, it's just that's the best way that I can like that I've been able to, especially with teenagers, right? Because they have to have a vision when we're talking to teenagers and kids. They got to see it to understand, and so that's the best way. So oftentimes, like I'll say, like, "Hey, let's have a tea break. Let's have a tolerance break. Let's get our brain back to where it should be. Let's get some of these receptors like unplugged a bit. Let's get back outside. Let's get back to reading books, doing art, like whatever it was that previously brought you that natural dopamine."
Okay.
And like let's just switch things out. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing things that I used to do and love before, and now I'm able to enjoy it. Well, of course you are, because like you're unplugged. It's amazing.
Right. Okay. So what can we do to increase what can we do instead to increase our dopamine levels instead of using a substance? Or what are some ideas we have to manage the dopamine levels ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I always encourage people, whether I'm working with them, whether they're close to me, whatever, like if they can just leave the substance alone, that's always number one. And of course, with the right supports in place, because doing it alone can be dangerous. So just making sure that you have the right support. But once you get the substances kind of out of the way, go back to what you love, right? When you ask people where do you love to be? So many people say outside, but
Yes,
instead, what do? We sit on the couch and we scroll and we watch videos of people going outside.
yeah. So true.
Right? And
Yes.
so, or it's like, or it's like, oh, like I love doing puzzles. I love shooting hoops. Right? So like whatever it is that brings you so much joy, whether that's like spending time with like your kids or your family, or maybe you like going to like a coffee shop and you just want to sit alone and have your favorite like drink. Oh my gosh, can you tell that's like my favorite thing? I just get that rush. Or maybe it's like connecting with people. Maybe like you love like reading or learning or going to conferences. Maybe you love watching live sports. Maybe like with summer coming, right? Maybe you love going to the lake. Maybe it's just getting outside and going for a walk, walking your dog, eating popcorn, right? And not too much, but just enough like to where it's like we can naturally get that dopamine, because like all the things that I just said, compared to substances, it's not the same kind of dopamine. Like it's just like when the dopamine we get from substances is like a trap. I always like say it's like a toxic like relationship. But the natural ways, getting the sunshine, moving your body, tapping into that creative side, right? Like some people love journaling, doodling, all those kind of things. That's getting you like that good natural dopamine. Hugging someone. Like there's just so many ways that we feel like can get that natural dopamine that we miss so many opportunities. Meditation, yoga, like when people are like, oh, well, I don't know what to do or whatever, like ask me. Because
Yeah.
I got 100 things we can do,
Yeah.
and I'll do them with you. Like, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big part of it too, is sometimes we lose ourselves and we don't always know what those things are. And so we
Yes.
just need to experiment. We have to get out there and
Yes.
kind of try things. Or I often tell people, what were you doing when you were little? what did you gravitate towards when you were a little kid? And maybe we got to bring that back and
Yes.
see if it's the same or see if it's changed. It may have changed over time, but maybe not. So it's
Yes.
just experimenting and trying new things and being open to what those possibilities are. I would agree with you. I would say hands down the number one thing I hear the most often is being outside or being in nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
being around trees, or for me it's by water. I love to be near the water. So it's more often than not it's something outside. So I would always recommend to start there.
Yes. And even if it's like literally stepping out on your front step and just sitting there and
Mhm.
just like taking some breaths. Like it doesn't need to be like, okay, I'm going on this huge camping trip in the mountains, right? Like, no, just go sit on your front step and
Yeah.
just breathe some fresh air. And then all of a sudden people are like, man, that felt good.
Yeah.
So then it's like we retrain our brain to be like, okay, like, yeah, smoking kind of feels good, but I just went outside and that felt just as good. So then
Mhm.
we like retrain our brain. But for that like pure raw dopamine, oh, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Well, it helps so much to understand, the education behind it and what is happening in our brains when um, we're on substances, or what brings us joy and what
Yes.
mechanisms are at play. I think that's really important to understand. So, Laura, what would be the first steps, if someone is needing some support, exploring this a little bit further with you? Maybe just an initial consult or initial appointment with you to kind of get the ball rolling would be helpful.
Yes. Yes. As well as we are hosting um like a parent information night, right? Did
Yes,
you want to talk a bit more about that?
absolutely. So yes, I'll let you discuss a little bit more about what we'll be covering. It's a free evening,
Yes.
so I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, so basically, I just like I love talking about drugs and
Yeah.
substances and just being better. And but sometimes like because the substances they're changing all the time. We don't know what we're looking for. We don't know what's in things and stuff. We don't know really what it's doing. Um and so I would just kind of like put together and like I work really closely like with Ranteed, and so just working together I've learned so much and learned how to like really connect with parents and share information. And so pretty much it's just going to be like everything you wanted to know about drugs, but we're too afraid to ask because I
Mhm.
think creating that space too is so important that people like might have questions but might be a little shy or don't know who to ask. So that's the space that we get to create, is just to talk about substances and teens and how to connect with teens, and just so much important education. Because to me with recovery, the biggest part is prevention, and the biggest part of prevention is education. So I'm so thrilled for that night. I'm really looking forward to it, and like Stacey said, it's free, so can't get much better than that.
It's free, and we serve pie because
Yeah.
it's a PIE, Parent Information Evening. So come and have
Yeah.
a piece of pie after supper. Listen to a lot of really helpful education information. Um, I'm a parent of teens and work with a lot of teens. And this is all just information I wish I had known sooner. So I think it's just so helpful to get some just really straightforward factual advice, even
Mhm.
in terms of what does it look like, right? As
Yeah.
a parent, what am I looking for? What are some of the signs I need to be aware of? Just it's a night to just let's just get together and talk about it and get as
Yes.
much information from Laura as we can. Trust me, she has a lot of really, really valuable information to share. And there isn't anyone more comfortable to talk about it with than Laura. So I just
Yeah.
highly recommend everybody come and enjoy an evening here at the Joshua Tree. Let's just get a community of people talking, increase your awareness, increase the education around substance use, and particularly in our teenage population. And we would just love to have you. So that parent night will happen on Tuesday, May 14th at 7:00 p.m. We would really appreciate if you could let us know if you're coming. It just helps us plan for numbers and making sure we have enough pie and enough chairs. And we just want to make sure you're comfortable when you come. So that would be really helpful. But if you just kind of decided on the way home or you forgot to register, please don't let that stop you. Just drop in. We'd love to have you. You're always welcome here, and we will always make space for you at the Joshua Tree. So please join us. I just think it's such an important topic that we need to talk about. And we really hope to see you there. Any final words before we sign off today, Laura?
No, just go outside, even if it's raining a bit. Take a breath. Give yourself something different.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to do that. I love the smell of fresh rain. Alrighty. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon. And we look forward to seeing a lot of you on Tuesday, May 14th at 7. Take care and have a great day.